It's been a year since it happened, but the memory clings to me like damp fog, heavy and unshakable. My life hasn't changed much on the surface. I go to work, pay my bills, eat dinner alone in my apartment, but something's different, something deep inside. I feel compelled to write this down, to make sense of it, because I'm starting to question whether what I saw was real or just a trick of my overstressed mind. Maybe putting it on paper will help me untangle the truth, quiet the nightmares, and stop those images from flashing behind my eyes every time I blink. They're just in my head, I tell myself. Just in my head. But they feel so real, so vivid, that I can't shake the dread. My name's Caleb Ward, and I live a quiet life, the kind most people would call dull. That's why what happened stands out like a scream in the silence. It was a year ago, almost to the day, and it's haunted me ever since. I'd spent a long weekend at my parents' place, a small house tucked in the rural sprawl of eastern Oregon, where the land stretches wide and empty, dotted with pines and rolling hills. It's beautiful in its own stark way, but isolated, the kind of place where help is a long way off if you need it. I'd planned to leave early Sunday afternoon to make the 5-hour drive back to my apartment in the city, but I lingered too long, caught up in coffee and conversation with my folks. By the time I said my goodbyes, the sun was dipping low, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. I cursed myself for not leaving sooner. My car, a beat-up 1989 Toyota Corolla, was a relic held together by hope and duct tape. The brakes squeaked, the engine rattled, and my night vision was terrible, making the winding country roads a gamble after dark. I prayed I wouldn't hit a deer or break down in the middle of nowhere. The car was my only real asset, and I couldn't afford to replace it. I drove slowly, the headlights cutting a weak path through the growing dusk. The road was narrow, flanked by dense forest on one side and open fields on the other, the kind of place where you could drive for miles without seeing another soul. I'd enjoyed my time with my parents, but now I regretted the trip. What if the car gave out? What if I got a flat tire? The nearest gas station was a small, run-down place near their house, but it was already 20 miles behind me, and I didn't know where the next one was. My stomach knotted as the engine began to sputter, a dry, choking sound that made my heart sink. The fuel gauge's warning light glowed accusingly. I'd forgotten to fill up before leaving. I'd been so lost in thought, so eager to get on the road, that I hadn't noticed how low the tank was. I'd arrived at my parents' with barely enough gas to spare, promising myself I'd stop at their local station. Now, here I was, the needle buried in the red, and the car coughing like it was on its last breath. With a final lurch, the Corolla rolled to a stop on the shoulder, the engine dead. I was stranded, miles from anywhere, with darkness settling in. I got out, the cold air biting through my thin shirt, and checked the trunk for a gas can I knew I didn't have. No luck. I slid back into the driver's seat, pulled out my phone, and swore under my breath. No signal, not a single bar. This stretch of road was a dead zone, cut off from the world. I decided to wait, hoping a passing car might stop. I sat there for nearly an hour, the dashboard clock ticking past 7 p.m., then 8 o'clock, but the road stayed empty. No headlights, no engines, just the rustle of wind through the trees and the occasional hoot of an owl. The forest felt alive, its shadows shifting in the moonlight, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I told myself it was just nerves, the isolation playing tricks on my mind, but the unease grew with every passing minute. Finally, I couldn't wait any longer. I remembered seeing a few houses on my drive out, maybe a mile or two ahead, past the forest. If I could find one, maybe someone would have a phone or a spare can of gas. It was better than sitting here, freezing and helpless. I grabbed a flashlight from the glove box, a cheap thing that flickered if you shook it, and started walking. The cold hit me hard, the wind cutting through my shirt, and I regretted not bringing a jacket. The road stretched dark and silent, the trees looming like sentinels. I walked for 10 minutes, my breath puffing in the chilly air, when I heard it, a rustle in the woods, quick and deliberate, like something moving from one tree to another. I froze, my flashlight beam darting into the underbrush. Hello, I called, my voice trembling. Anyone there? Silence answered, thick and heavy, until another gust of wind stirred the branches, making them creak like they were alive. far from the trees as I could get. It was just the wind, I told myself. Just the wind. The forest began to thin, and I breathed a little easier, expecting to see the houses I'd remembered. But when I reached the edge of the trees, my heart sank. There were no houses, just an endless expanse of grasslands stretching into the darkness. I stopped, confused. I'd driven this road before. There had to be houses nearby. Had I gone the wrong way? The road was straight, no turns, no forks. I couldn't be lost. I squinted into the distance, the moonlight casting a pale glow over the fields, and saw something. A shape, maybe a sign, standing alone in the grass. My pulse quickened with hope. A sign meant civilization, maybe a gas station or a farmhouse. I didn't care what it said. It was a lifeline. I stepped off the road, my shoes sinking into the damp ground. The field felt soft, almost spongy, like a marsh, though I didn't remember any wetlands on the map. I pushed forward, the mud sucking at my soles, the sign growing clearer with each step. It read, "Fuel." My heart leapt. A gas station, out here in the middle of nowhere? It seemed impossible, but I didn't care. I broke into a jog, ignoring the way the ground squelched beneath me. In my haste, I didn't see the sinkhole until it was too late. My foot caught, and I pitched forward, slamming into the mud. My face hit the ground, the impact jarring my teeth, and I tasted dirt and blood. For a moment, everything went black. When I came to, my head throbbed, and I realized I'd dropped my flashlight and phone. I groped in the mud, my hands sinking into the cold, slimy earth, but they were gone, swallowed by the mire. I stood, shivering, my clothes soaked and heavy. The moonlight was enough to see by, barely, and I pressed on toward the sign, desperate for shelter, a phone, anything. The cold was biting now, the wind slicing through me, and I could feel the blood hardening on my skin. As I neared the sign, I saw it wasn't a full gas station, just a single, rusted pump beside a small, dilapidated shed that looked more like an outhouse than a building. My stomach sank. What kind of gas station was this? No storm, no lights, just a pump and a shed in the middle of a marsh. I stepped onto the cracked concrete around the pump, and a chill ran through me, sharper than the wind. The air felt raw, heavy with a faint, whistling sound, like a distant moan. I shook it off and checked the pump. It was ancient, the metal pitted with rust, no card reader or display. A 5-gallon gas can sat nearby, dented but intact. I grabbed it, my hands shaking, and tried the nozzle. Nothing. I squeezed harder, but the pump was dry. I cursed, realizing it might be locked, an old model that needed a key. I searched the pump, the ground, the concrete, but found nothing. My eyes drifted to the shed, and a wave of unease washed over me. It looked wrong, out of place, like it didn't belong in this world. The wood was warped, the roof sagging, and a foul smell drifted from it, like rotting meat and decay. I didn't want to go near it, but I had no choice. If there was a key, it was probably inside. I approached, my stomach churning, and unlatched the door. It swung open with a creak, and the smell hit me like a wall, rancid, overwhelming, a mix of rot and something worse. I gagged, covering my mouth, and peered inside. In the dim moonlight, I saw it. A corpse, slumped on a makeshift seat, its flesh green and bloated, eyes wide with a frozen expression of terror. It wore tattered coveralls, like a mechanic, and in its breast pocket was a ring of keys. My heart raced. That had to be the key I needed. I stepped forward, my body moving on autopilot, and reached for the keys, my hand trembling. As I touched the ring, the corpse's arm shot out, grabbing my wrist with a grip like iron. "Run," it rasped, its voice a guttural wheeze, like air forced through a ruined throat. I screamed, yanking free, and stumbled back, tripping over the threshold. The corpse lurched forward, its head cracking against the floor, black ichor oozing from the wound. It looked up, its eyes locking onto mine. "Run now," it said. "It's coming." I bolted, the keys clutched in my hand, my mind reeling. This couldn't be real. I was dreaming, hallucinating, anything but awake. But the cold, the mud, the pain in my wrist, it was all too real. I reached the pump, fumbling with the keys, trying each one with shaking hands. The fifth key clicked, and the pump humped to life. I jammed the nozzle into the can, the gasoline bugging out, its sharp smell cutting through the air. In the distance, I heard it buzzing, like a swarm of insects, growing louder. The moon vanished behind thick clouds, and rain began to fall, heavy and sudden, soaking me in seconds. The darkness deepened, the pump's faint light my only guide. I filled the can, my hands slick with rain and sweat, and went to replace the nozzle when I froze. The pump was gushing something else now, not gas, but a thick red liquid, like blood, pulsing onto the concrete. I checked the can. It still smelled of gasoline, thank God, but the sight of the blood, flowing against the rain, moving with purpose toward the marsh, made my skin crawl. It didn't dilute, didn't waver, just streamed into the mire like it was alive. The rain stopped as suddenly as it started, leaving an oppressive silence. My ears rang, my heart pounding so loud I could feel it in my throat. Then came a sound, a wet, tearing noise, like flesh being ripped apart. The ground at the edge of the marsh split open, the earth peeling back like skin, revealing a sinkhole deeper than any I'd seen. From it came a surge of bodies, decayed and broken, spilling onto the concrete with sickening thuds. They writhed, their limbs twisting unnaturally, their voices shrieking, "It's too late!" I screamed, backing away, the gas can heavy in my hand. The air grew heavier, and I saw it. A haze near the sign, shadows shifting, coalescing into a single form. It was tall, shapeless, moving with deliberate slowness, its footsteps heavy and wet. Whispers filled the air, low and inviting, pulling at my mind. I stood frozen, my body refusing to move, until the sound of those footsteps snapped me out of it. I ran, plunging back into the marsh, the mud sucking at my legs. The buzzing returned, a swarm of glowing insects darting around me, their wings a deafening roar. I swung the gas can, batting them away, my feet sinking deeper with every step. Behind me, the splashing grew louder, the thumps of heavy feet closer. I didn't look back, I couldn't. I reached shallower ground, scrambling onto solid earth, and sprinted toward the road. Something grabbed my ankle, a skeletal hand, its flesh peeling away, attached to a corpse that rasped, "Join us. Feed it." I kicked free, my shoe tearing loose, and ran, the gas can banging against my neck. The whispers faded, the buzzing softened, but the footsteps never stopped, slow and relentless, always just behind. I reached the road, the forest looming ahead, its darkness absolute. I ran blindly, the pavement hard under my feet, the gas can my only anchor. The trees seemed to move, their branches reaching out, scraping my arms. I ignored them, ignored the pain, ignored the moans that seemed to come from the shadows. I nearly missed my car, catching sight of it only when I tripped over a rock and slammed into its side. The gas can clattered but didn't spill. I fumbled for the gas cap, my hands shaking so badly I could barely twist it open. The footsteps were closer now, steady and unhurried, the air growing colder, heavier. I poured the gas, spilling half of it in my panic, my breath ragged. The forest went silent, the wind dying, the trees still. I froze, listening, hearing nothing but my own gasping. Then I felt it, a presence, close, its breath cold and deliberate. The moonlight dimmed, swallowed by something darker. I glanced up, and there it was, a figure, shapeless and shifting, like smoke given form. Its eyes burned red, piercing through me, stripping away every thought but fear. I screamed, dropping the can, and dove into the car, slamming the key into the ignition. The engine sputtered, then roared to life. I floored the gas, the tires squealing as I peeled away, the figure looming in my rearview mirror, its eyes glowing until the darkness swallowed it. I drove for hours, not stopping, not looking back, until I reached the city, the lights of civilization a fragile shield against the memory. That was a year ago. I haven't gone back to my parents' place since, haven't told them why. I haven't told anyone, not until now. I want to believe it was a dream, a breakdown, my mind cracking under stress. But it felt too real, the mud, the blood, those eyes. I replaced my phone,